joining us on this live event. In today's topic, we will have a few announcements, but in general, the topic for today will be like twofold. The first part will be waking up in a world of illusions, which will mainly redress the perspective of like what happens when you wake up that you were living a life of dreams or illusions, and like how to navigate that. And the second part is walking between two worlds or two realities. And in this, we want to address the whole topic and issue of which I think we're still learning and expanding on even later on in your awakening journey of like, okay, like I have this new perspective in life on how things work and who I am. And I have all these spiritual aspirations to learn more about myself and the world. But still, you have to live with your family and go to work and live in society. And 99% of people around you are not on the same bandwidth or wavelength as you are. And like, how can you navigate that reality as well? Because it's not an easy state to be in, especially in the beginning.
Right.
Okay. So yeah, like before we start, I also wanted to like share the book, which can be of use in these times of change, which is the Teachings of Thoth, the Atlantean. So if you're interested in alchemy, transmutation, the Hermetic arts, it's a great quick starter for like your lessons in metaphysics and like how to transmute the undesired states in your life and how to change reality to your liking for the benefit of all. And the second announcement, which is going to be something new that we're going to try maybe next week or the week afterwards, is like trying out new ways of doing live events, of like making them more interactive. This could be like a separate Zoom group, which would be like announced on the community section, very similar to what Higher Vibrations is doing. And my general purpose for these Zoom groups and meetings would be that they're going to be at the same time as these live events. But the only difference is in the beginning, they will be like semi-private. So only the people who have the link will be able to join those meetings. And since Higher Vibrations is doing an awesome job of like communicating, like bringing people together, I want to do events which mainly focus on me channeling information for people, like doing these semi-public channeling sessions for people and see that how that works out. So if you're interested, I'm not sure if we're going to do it next week. So look out for it in the community section. I will announce what will happen next Thursday at the same time as we're doing this live event now. And let's see how that works. So hello, Higher Vibrations. How are you doing?
This sounds really exciting. I'm happy for your motion forward on this. That's going to be cool.
Yeah, I've learned a lot from you as well. So thank you for the lessons that you have provided.
And you have helped me as well, too. It's been fun seeing how the YouTube spiritual community works, that there's such a sharing, loving camaraderie that occurs in that space.
Yeah, like basically the more we share and interact, the more we expand and act as a catalyst for each other's growth. So I also highly recommend and encourage everyone who hasn't tried out Higher Vibrations Zoom meetings to, like I think you're going to have a meeting tomorrow.
That's right.
But there are like these private Zoom meetings that are not recorded or broadcast, and you can meet similar people whom you are to, like spiritually inclined people who are on their path of awakening. And like communicate with them or just listen to what is happening and know that you have found your group, you have found home, and that you're not alone, basically.
Yeah. And above all else, I would say that's the most useful tool that I have found in this awakening journey. There's stuff that we do on our own along the way, though. When we feel the question that lurks around the back of our head, being that when we feel alone, we can also convince ourselves that we're crazy or that what we're experiencing isn't completely accurate. And there's this constant battle inside. And then when we can connect to others like us, there's so many. That's the thing, that we're just everywhere. When we can, like you said, you can be the fly on the wall. I have people join my Zoom meetings where they don't turn their camera or their audio on and will type in the chat section. And I'll be that voice for them so they can still participate. Many of us, if not all of us, at some time or another have been taught, conditioned to believe that if we share our truth, there will be negative consequences, persecution, and things like that. It could be something that we carried along from a past life. It could be from this life. And this is a space to assist without pressure. So when people say welcome to somebody, that doesn't mean you're required to speak, is my point. And that ability to maintain anonymity and privacy while you're allowing yourself to notice that this is a beautiful space of loving and sharing, that no one's going to cause you disharm from this, then people will start to turn on their cameras all the time, often. So I'm really excited about your version of this too, Guardian. So when you find out more about how this is going to be set up, are you going to include this in an announcement in your community section, or?
Yeah, like, so check out next week on maybe Tuesday or Wednesday, the community section, what will happen in our next live event. So yeah, like, my initial idea was like to bridge what I was doing on Patreon with these live events. So it's going to be like an ongoing process of like experimenting, like what works best for everyone.
Cool.
So yeah, thank you for joining us on the journey.
Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, and lastly, real quickly, tomorrow our meeting is at 2:00. The Zoom that I do, it's free. The link is already in my community section on my YouTube channel. Guardian has already embedded my name in this video.
Yeah, it's in the title of the video.
So if you click on that, it'll go to my page, and the community section there will show you the Zoom link. I do a different Zoom link every week to clear the energy and renew the space. And so I always post it the day before. Thank you for letting me have that time.
Yeah, I'm also going to do something similar. So if you had the previous week's Zoom meeting link, that won't be available. After I hit end on the meeting, it will expire. So each week it will be a new fresh link, because bots, for some reason, like links and they like to abuse it. So it's important to keep it safe as possible for all people and all participants.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, like, regarding the topic of like waking up in a world of illusions, like you have more experience like talking to people who have been more recently like awakening and experiencing life from a new lens for the first time. Like, what would you like recommend to them at this phase in their journey?
Well, I would say that above all else, what is most paramount is to realize which illusions matter. What I mean by that is, like, the title of this part of the experience is waking from illusions. You're realizing that a lot of the experiences before you that you had typically accepted aren't so correct. And the base of that goes down to four main illusions. We have the illusion of separation. That's the illusion of separation from God, from others. The illusion of insecurity. We are all actually secure and abundant individuals. That's a limitation and an illusion that we've been presented with to believe. The illusion of your lack of power when you're actually a powerful being, and the illusion of needing an intermediary, somebody like a priest, a rabbi, or somebody else to connect to God. All of those bases are a wider spectrum of what is happening in most people when they're first awakening. They're realizing all of the stuff that I was brought up to believe is a lie, and that desperation and hopelessness feeling of just like, and betrayal and all of this, and then at the same time often cohabiting or living near to many people and having to interact with these individuals who still very defiantly believe in these illusions that try to make you feel not sane or some type of imbalance, and give you a variety of things that are solutions to bring you back away from the light. And that tends to be the most difficult hurdle for people, is having to still live in the world of the 3D while knowing that world is an illusion. And so,
yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, please continue.
And so usually in that spaces where people will find these connections in the Zoom meetings and stuff, is that that's a place where
All right. I think we are having a bit of connection issue. Okay. Yeah, like regard so where should I continue? While you come back, high vibrations. Yeah, like regarding like walking that fine line between like two realities of you having this newfound perspective on life and like everyone else doesn't, and they try to reinforce their beliefs on you because where you are in life, that can make them uncomfortable because you're basically reflecting to them that the way their life functions and what they find to be true is not necessarily is, or it's a bit shaken because you are showing them basically a different perspective to the life that they've felt that is real so far. So yeah, like in the beginning, it can be very difficult because yeah, like it's difficult because they want to reinforce their own beliefs. And the difficult part is that you have to hold on to your own beliefs and your basically your newfound perspective in order to navigate this whole situation. And like in a nutshell, my advice to everyone, like I also experience the negative parts of these, is like to not necessarily share your newfound information with everyone because there are going to be a lot of people who will not appreciate it. And they will most likely try to like put you back into your box that they're in as well, because you make them feel uncomfortable that maybe the box that they felt is home is not all there is to the world. And knowing that there are many alien things, like in quotation marks, outside of the box can be a very scary thing to many people, especially to people who have a very rigid mindset and they're not able to, I know, they don't have an open mind or they're not willing to learn and expand. For those people, it can be like, I wouldn't say like a life crisis, but if you, for example, if your partner is of that type of energy and mindset, for them it could be because you're reflecting to them on a day-to-day basis that maybe their belief systems about their self and reality is not all there is of life, and maybe it's false. So yeah.
right.
I'm very grateful that I didn't have that type of relationship. So yeah, that can be a difficult spot to be in. That can,
Yes.
in some cases, as I know, like that can absolutely like end relationships, like with friends or family, loved ones. Also, many of my friends shifted out of my reality because like we were no longer in alignment with each other. Like I went in this direction and they went in that. And I said like, okay, like I'm not having that any longer in my life.
And that's a characteristic of something else that people call something that it feels like a word that doesn't apply, but this typically occurs in this window of time, this early realization and stuff. It's called the dark night of the soul. It's not always the words that we use, and the barrier of words is just awful anyway. That doesn't describe the true experience. Often it does feel very depressing when you feel like you're alone and all those types of things. And however, it's more of the light being shown on the soul. It's like getting a large light, bright beam of light that just expands through your attic, for instance, a place that maybe you haven't noticed where things are that need to be tidied up. And so a lot of times for people, the first experience with this often happens around Lionsgate or some type of transmutation window like that, which is in August. However, the biggest awakening window I've heard about is always February. February is like this time where people wake up. And so not always. I say this because one of the main characteristics of that is what we call the shedding of relationships, where you realize that you're not in alignment with each other, and that, you slowly part ways, that your being in their experience isn't benefiting them any more than they are benefiting you. And just this force trying to stay in this old paradigm while you're realizing truths about you that you didn't see before, and the need to, often the people I'm finding these days that are really in their place, or not in their place, what's the right word, really determined to stay unawakened, are, from my experience, individuals who very strongly suspect what we're talking about is true. It's simply a desperate fear to pretend they believe in something because they want it to stay normal or go back to normal,
Mhm.
and this exchange is different. And this is what's changed. And I know I'm not a Hollywood follower. I'm not somebody who really pays attention to celebrity or any of that type of thing. Although someone mentioned to me a handful of well-known actors that are now presenting themselves as spiritual guides or teachers, I don't have an opinion whether they are or not. The point that they're doing it tells me that everybody knows what's going on now, and it validates this experience that a lot of people have been reporting to me about, but that you can feel it. I can feel it on the other people. They just really don't want to have that reality that I'm talking about be true, because that means that their whole life was a lie, and that
Yeah, that's
they
scary.
don't have control like they think they do, and that they've been robots for all this time, and so on and so forth. It means a complete change in all understanding, and that's a pretty big notion to try to swallow in one go.
Yeah, especially if you're like not used to like being flexible or inquisitive or like learning new stuff in life and expanding, or maybe like doing some kind of work on yourself or improve yourself, and like you're just hit with all this information, and that can be very difficult. Like
Yeah.
in my case and other people's that I've had the privilege to talk to, like most of us were like these forerunners of this awakening stuff. Like we came in, I think, into circumstances and with mindsets that allowed us to shift more easily than the average person would, because like we had some types of elements throughout our lives that kind of gave you a glimpse of like, hey, like other stuff are possible too, or like there's not, what you see is not all there is to life, basically. And you always had that little possibility like looming in the back somewhere there. And
Yeah.
when actually the shift hit the fan and something happened and you awakened and you started out very strongly on this journey, then it wasn't that of a drastical shift, because you were like, oh, like this makes a lot more sense than
Right.
the stuff that I was led to believe in
Right.
school or previously throughout my life. Yeah, like in my case, that was the case that, uh, yeah, like throughout my life, many things didn't resonate, but I was in that state that I just didn't get it. Like, what's wrong with me? Or like
Yeah.
everyone's getting it. I just don't get it. Like, this doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't resonate. And like other people like it, and to me, it's horrible. And like, don't appreciate those things that other people like. And yeah, like I think you think of yourself, there's something wrong with you. Like everyone is like in on it and they enjoy life, and you're like, hey, like what are you doing?
Right.
Like what kind of value system do you have? And yeah, like after you have your awakening and you're like exposed to all this new type of information, and like also I think like when you're ready, like new teachers come in, like this doesn't mean that, I know, like you're going to find like a person in your life that's going to guide you. It can be, but I think that's very rare. But all of a sudden, like all this information that is like reflecting your awakening will flood into your reality. Like,
Mm.
I know, like in your YouTube feed, or someone just randomly mentions something that will help you along on your journey. And you'll just start this like cascading effect of like, hey, like if I research this, then that will lead me to 10 different other things that I also want to research. And I have like a new picture of everything and I want to know more about each aspect of it. And you like go down in a rabbit hole of like, you want to know more, and you find out that, hey, like there's a lot of information already out there. And there are like a lot of people who have been doing a lot of research to help you on your journey. Like you don't have to like sift through hundreds of books and recordings and all that. Like you have all these wonderful people who have like distilled all that information and like decades of work into a book or maybe a presentation for you, so you
Right.
don't have to do that long lengthy work. And like it's free on the internet, and like you'll have access to it. And
Exactly.
like, and it's the crazy stuff is when you like listen to these new found information, and you're like, wow, like this makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. And you knew it all along, but you just didn't realize you knew it until you knew it. It's a weird paradox that can't fully be explained. It just is. When someone says a certain word, the word is, I find for myself in this experience more than anything else. When there's a word to identify it, which is annoying because when we label something, that's when we limit it. It's kind of this other thing that I don't know how to avoid at this point. When there's a word introduced, all of a sudden it's activating. It's like, wait, that word's important. And then we go and we know what to type. There's a word now to explain and describe what we're going through. And then from that, we're able to go through a whole series, like you said, of rabbit holes. In fact, the reason that I have this Mad Hatter picture over here for my birthday party, my friends hear me
Mhm.
talk about jumping down rabbit holes so much that they made it be a Alice in Wonderland party.
Okay.
They're important. Rabbit holes are where we discover, and we have put breadcrumbs throughout all of culture, throughout every society, pop culture, as well as ancient knowledge and stuff that we just have in nursery rhymes and things, not even realizing what we're being told. And then we can rediscover those things and find out what they are. The word that worked for me, that was activating for me, was someone called me an earth empath. Like I can feel earthquakes no matter where I am on the planet or where they are in the planet, as if they're really an earthquake. And when I have one, when there's an earthquake where I live, I react in a completely different way than everybody else until stuff starts to fall down. I don't know that we're having an earthquake because it feels just like if Chile's having an earthquake. Anyway, that was the main, like, the back door for me to discover. So that just was my activating word. Everybody has something and you're already here, so you've already started your journey. And through that, knowing, just like what Guardian said, that if you go and shout this information from the rooftops, you don't always get a favorable result, though that's what we want to do at first. Don't you guys know you've been lied to? Don't
Yeah.
you know? And just this whole
And nobody wants to
desperation.
hear that.
I know. And there is, it's a typical stereotype of what we see in the streets, of individuals with paper or cardboard signs or whatever, and not realizing how on point that person is. They're at a point in their spiritual awakening, and they've gotten stuck somewhere in the delivering of the bad news part, and when we find out, when we realize that by exposing the truth, the lie goes away. When we discover that, then this whole expose the lies thing goes away. And when we stop exposing the lies and instead bringing forth the truth, then we are propelling ourselves into a forward motion of this next phase of awakening that you get to be in. Allowing these shedding of relationships to occur, it's sad. The parting of ways of relationships is always sad. There's always some type of, though, knowing that you have planted a seed in that individual, and that there's been some beautiful sharing, but previous to that, and then we part ways. This is funny, but it's very much like what we're doing right now with these parasite energies. We're calling them parasites now. They used to be part of Team Body. They were very in resonance with where we were at. And as we are ascending and moving our energy frequency at a higher state, we are having to say, time to go. And they don't want it. They're comfortable. They've been here forever. And there's this kind of like tearing away kind of sensation, and we feel the grief in the morning sometimes, as well as sensing it from them as they move on. When they go, by the way, just like these other relationships we're talking about, they go into their awesome next phase of awakening or whatever it is for them too. So knowing that when we part ways, it's just another beginning. And it's very healthy, I think, to do rabbit hole kind of stuff. However, here's my little 2 cents. The more that I engage with any type of news, any type of informational delivery system in that format, the harder it is to stay in a higher vibrational frequency state. And
Yeah, like when
go
they're
ahead.
exposing all the nasty stuff that is happening in the background. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's rough. It's hard to, it pulls us down, and it becomes, in most people that I've interacted with on this journey, the vast majority of them at some point in their early awakening, they had discovered that it became almost an addictive behavior. And so having to like wean themselves off of it like you would heroin or anything else, in a way, it's just a conditioned thing. The news, the news, the news, it's like a thing. And to pull yourself slowly away from it, we're not just changing what we put in our bodies. We consume toxins and stuff that we're now omitting from our what we eat. And so too are we consuming what we're watching, what we're listening to. And so we're learning to also adjust that to the frequency that we're keeping.
Yeah, like if you want to like research stuff, then do it in like a discerning way or in a balanced way too. Like if you're not in a high vibrational place, or maybe if you're low on energy or don't feel that well, then like don't expose yourself to those low vibrational information too, because like that's like pulling you even further down. Like find that spot of like, okay, like this is really not helping me right now, to recognize that, okay, like maybe on some level, like knowing this could be important later on, but right now it's like dragging me down. I don't feel better about it, like, and it's probably would be best to like stop and do something else. And maybe if you're really curious and you're in a better spot in life, then just return then to that whole topic and explore it. Or maybe when a few days pass and you also change a bit, and you will like realize that, hey, like I don't need that in my system. Yeah, like that's also a possibility too.
Right. I did something actually very similar to that. For one reason or another, the phone that I have picked up my old internet browser from a previous phone when I updated it.
Mm-hmm.
And I still had in that internet browser, I still had some pages open, and where I had like left off in the 2020 information dump that happened, and at that time it was important for me to pull away from it. And then looking at it now from this perspective, it was actually kind of comical, to be honest. It's like I believed all of that, and there was so much of it was sensationalized, like that. When there's certain words, this is what I do. This is just my guidance, is that if there's certain words in the title, I don't click. And that has to do with like urgent, danger, warning,
Everyone's going to
immediately.
die. Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. That I sometimes will still, and when I'm in a good place, click on such things if the topic is something I'm interested in specific form. However, what I'm doing, just like Ardian said, is I'm discerning this information. I'm very aware that the narrative of the person who's sharing this story isn't what I'm listening to. I'm looking at the images and the information that's being presented. And then I get to decide how full of crap it is. Like, it's kind of fun. And
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not talking about news, I'm talking about clicking on certain videos. Um and what's presented often shows you, if you know how to look, where the truth is at, if you're looking for it, and if that's something that you're interested to do. Again, remembering whatever we do, all good things become unhealthy for us in excess. It doesn't matter what we're talking about. And so keeping that in mind, gauge yourself. And while you discover these layers, then we start to learn how to replace certain behaviors and ways of thought with something of the higher frequency and the higher light. Often that has to do with communing with nature and being, like we said, part of other people in this community, and allowing ourselves to use our heart to think instead of trying to use our brain. It's been backwards this whole time. Putting all this emphasis on our brain. A brain is simply a filter, a deliverer of information. It's not meant to be a container or a library. It's supposed to be like your cache that you empty out at the end of the day, And so people starting to use their heart frequency more are starting to be able to understand and use that discernment.
Yeah, like I think I heard it first from Arcturus Ra, that like we were designed to stream information, not to store information.
Yeah.
Because like we have access and I can download a lot of information, but we have difficulty like storing a library worth of information. Even though like school wants us to believe that, hey, like you have to memorize all this crap and that means you're intelligent. Like
Right.
you just like can't really hold on to all that information, especially if you don't use it.
Yep.
So you're just filling up your mind space with crap. Like, yeah, like regarding researching stuff, the guidance that I would give is like there are like different types of alternative sources. Like I won't name names because it's not important. But yeah, like many of them can be very good. But what I really pay attention to is like how they deliver it, or like what's the energy behind it, like what's the intent. Like even if they have provide like good information on stuff, but like the whole feeling of it is like this sensationalized, like it's the doom of everyone, and like, oh my God, what is going to happen? And when I feel that unpleasant thing, and I was like, okay, like I'm not having that in my system, because like there are other people who like realize that, and like even though they can present some dark facts about like what has happened maybe in the past, but they're like trying to do it in a very constructive and informative way. Like they don't sensationalize it. They just like bring you the facts and like, okay, like this has happened. And like they put information together for you to inform you and not to scare you, basically. And you're back, high vibrations. Yeah.
Technology is
solar
whacked.
flares. Yeah. Okay. And you're out. And you're back again. Okay.
Sorry. Can't
Oh, it's fine. Yeah. I see on the live stream you're disappearing and reappearing. Okay.
That's awesome. Ta-doo.
Great.
This is happening to a lot of people. Technology acting up and being funny, and it feels very much like we're pulling away from like some kind of AI paradigm, and that's providing us with the space to slowly replace it with something of a higher light. But
Yeah. Yeah, like okay, like I think we addressed very much both of them. Kind of like we blended the two topics together. Yeah, like in general, like what I would say about them is that like these themes can be like reoccurring, like coming back throughout your journey. So it's not like, okay, like I have completely awakened and I have completely learned to navigate this reality from the spiritual mindset. Because like as you move forward and you work on yourself, like you will have new awakenings when you like level up, because like usually you can anticipate it when you're like getting used to functioning in a certain way for a prolonged period of time, and then like life throws something at you to like that pushes you to move to the next level. And basically in that next level, that means that you're leveling up your intuition, your senses, and you will be again seeing reality from a different perspective once more. You will be like seeing new connections. You can like see more deeply into things and understand things from a much deeper perspective. Again, from a perspective that is even more far off from the general public's perspective. And again, you have to learn how to navigate and reintegrate into society with this newfound wisdom.
right.
But yeah, like if the farther you go with it, I think the easier it is, the integrating back aspect, or at least that's what I found looking back like 11 years. Like in the beginning, it was very difficult because it was like frustrating. But now I managed to like reach a phase in my evolution or awakening that I can like relate to people in a very empathic and I think more like compassionate way. Like, okay, like that is your perspective. Like I completely respect that. I love you as much as I can. I can even help you as much as I can, or I'm allowed during the circumstances. Like you're on your journey and I'm on my journey. And I absolutely do not feel pressure to like share with you like what I am going through or like what are my perspectives on things. But if you ask something of me, of course I will share. I will not lie to you. But
Right.
yeah, like I kind of lost this need to like, I wouldn't say like I never really like to like educate people. I also don't really like that word either.
I know.
It's more like shedding light on stuff that they don't like to look at. Like I really enjoyed that in a certain part of my life. Like there are these like touchy subjects, and like all of a sudden just bring it up, like regard like something happens, and you say something that is related to that, but it's from a different perspective than people are used to. Like, oh, like you didn't know that.
Right, right. I feel that way too. I think that word kind of got hijacked. Now it's just like, usually when the word educate comes up these days, it's somebody saying, I'm offended by you using a word and I'm educating you by telling you better not do that. It's like, wow, you're going to limit my words too, huh? That's great. I'm with you that I find the most useful tool to do this integration is that remembering to clear your energetic space and to also and allow yourself to be enveloped by this light before going and participating. The main difficulty I have and still often struggle with when I don't do those types of things regularly is interacting with the energy of those who aren't on the same frequency. Like it feels very much like you're hanging out with energy vampires, and we probably are in some way. And then you just feel drained and depleted and overextended. And many of us have not ever considered, even those of us who never considered themselves as introverts are becoming that, just pulling away from groups of people. Is that mixed energy is difficult to do. Really quick, the easiest way that I do that is watching the beam of light that is the spark in your heart, the white, beautiful light, and watch it from its center expand out and push out all things that aren't in my highest joy out through your energy sphere. Most energy spheres reach about 50 feet in diameter. That's pretty far out. And so also keeping that in mind, I actually think that's part of why we had that distancing thing with that lockdown stuff. So we wouldn't like overlap energies.
I'm not sure. Like it was a very bad thing, like on many levels, but I think like empaths and sensitive people really enjoyed the not
Yeah,
touching.
I
Like,
dug
don't
it.
get into my field.
My life didn't change hardly at all when they started the lockdown. I really enjoyed the fact that they started putting like, you have to be on that side of the aisle or this side of the aisle when you're walking, because there's always groups of people just in the middle talking and in the way and going there. And I really liked that. I was like, hey, now I can get through the store efficiently and quickly. I'm not there to socialize. Get out of my way.
Yeah, like what I also enjoyed is like here it's kind of custom to like if you meet someone, if especially if you know them or it's family, that you exchange a handshake or like kiss someone, like come on and hug me, like get out of my field, or
Right.
like I'm okay with people that I enjoy being with, but yeah, like doing it with people that have like nasty energy and like you
Yeah.
have to do it because it's like a customer thing. Like, oh, like okay.
Yeah.
I
And
had my
close
most
talkers.
difficult time on our wedding when we had to like accept all the congratulations, and like there was this huge line queuing up in front of us, and like everyone was hugging you and kissing you, and I was like, I just had to go to the bathroom and wash my hand, and my face was so for something. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, I totally relate to that. Which is
Yeah.
funny because I used to be a real hugger. Like that was what I would hug and meeting somebody. Like that was just who I was. And it changed around 2006. I had another big phase of awakening in 2007. And
Mhm.
so that's probably where it occurred. But I just like I've a switch flipped, and now I'm the same way. If I can reach out and touch you, you're too close. And chances are I won't hear anything you're saying. I'm just thinking, don't hit them, don't hit them, don't hit, or something like that. I'm not a violent person. I'm joking about that, but I'm the same. And it's unfortunate because people like us do share this light. And as we share the light with the world, we're the I can't think of a better word to use exactly, but it's like we're infecting them with the light, just being in the area that we are of with them. And so many times they're drawn to us, like and into our energy and also to touch. Like that's the one that's kind of been new for me over the past couple of years. Like going into a store full of strangers. Remember, I don't know any of these people. And it's not now anymore just people trying to tell, strangers trying to tell me all their whole stories. It's now they're touching me. Like they're fluffing, they're moving my hair, they're touching my elbow. A lot of them will just grab my shopping cart and then like talk and try to say hello and touch my shoulders. Like, why did you stop me mid motion? Move, and I understand what's going on is there's this exchange. We are this light. When we walk through a shopping mall or any place, we're sending that light out. And many of these individuals who so crave it and have been looking for it are drawn so much to it that they kind of forget their manners in a way. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, like, and I think in most cases, like it's not a conscious thing on their part.
Right.
Their subconscious is like it just come naturally to them, like instinct that like, hey, like I crave something, like I need something that you have, and like they intuitively just like touch you or like get close to you. And yeah, like if they start to talk to you, then you have a more direct energetic interaction too, an exchange of energy. And yeah, like that can totally happen too. Yeah, like also like some of us like are working on places where they meet many people on a daily basis.
Right.
So basically in those cases, you're like sharing your high vibrational energies with a lot of people on a daily basis, or like sharing your activating codes and also like acting as a catalyst for them.
Right.
And like even if regardless where you are, like your family, your neighbors, your workplace, and everyone there at the office or wherever you work at is like affected by your presence. Like you're acting as a catalyst for that whole place as well.
Right. You brought up there's a few examples that I know of right now of these energetic healers and transmutators, these energies of healing and uplifting and correcting or realigning the energy found in these beautiful empaths that are housekeepers, and their clients, whether they've openly discussed it or not, are very aware that that person is not just cleaning their home, they're cleaning the energy of their home. And it's fun because a lot of these people have been doing it this whole time and just not knowing what they were doing exactly, and that's the point to be made above all of these other things, in my opinion, is that we do all this stuff on autopilot. Like there's not a lot of effort required. The effort of motion is already in motion. What is really needed is to, in my opinion, is to allow yourself to let go of whatever preconceived notions we've brought into the game so far. Question everything. And it doesn't have to be like, the CIA with a lamp over the face and asking questions like that kind of, but it's just, does that feel like it's true? Does it? And a lot of things often have at least a morsel of truth in it. However, often as well, there are things that are not exactly in alignment with the truth. And so allowing yourself to do that. The questioning of history that has been going on for a little bit. I got a message a little while ago. It was really brief, but it was really profound. But the essence of the message was your history is being corrected. Please stand by. Like it was from the Arcturian. Yeah. And it was so like the energies that came forward were like, I get to tell her, because it's happening, and so we're here. And as that's occurring, allow yourself to look around. Like Guardian said, there's a lot of things that pop in up in our news feed. And what I mean by that, the feed of YouTube is the only one I look at. I don't know about the others.
Me too.
Yeah. And they come up to show you what's going on and when it's needed. What I'm finding, so I got that message, and all of a sudden now all of these snippets, these shorts on YouTube are popping up about this discovery and that discovery. Like somebody in Peru had a 17-foot statue that they never saw, an ancient statue that was never there, supposedly. And this is what we've been talking about all this time, is that we've been resonating or vibrating at this frequency here, which was a great one. However, the stuff that we're not able to completely fill in the blanks for has been resonating just above perception. And if we raise our vibrational frequency, we're meeting that. And so as all this stuff comes forward, allowing yourself to let go of whatever you've been taught in school in that kind of a way, and experience the truth or the information that's coming forward for you, and use your discernment. Like Guardian says, you know, we're the universe or the world's best lie detectors. We're going to be able to tell what part is BS and what part is accurate.
Yeah, like the more you, I don't know, like observe and like feel out information or people, events, whatever, everything in life, basically. And if you have the opportunity and time, then just maybe if you meet someone or you're exposed to some kind of news or information, then just maybe stop for a few seconds, like take a breath, like clear yourself and just be very honest with yourself. Like, how does this feel? And in some cases, it can be like very neutral, like you're not really getting anything, or what you're getting is like super subtle because there isn't this huge contrast of like this being super exciting, like I want to know this, I want to have this. And the other spectrum would be like that you're like repelled by it. It's like, I don't want that in my mind, in my life, get it away from me.
Right.
Like sometimes it can be, yeah, like, and also like sometimes your body can also react. When it's very subtle, like it's difficult to discern and to feel, you have to like really get used to how your body works and like what language it uses. And the more patient you are and observant of yourself, then you will also like start to read those very subtle shifts in your body too. But yeah, like when something is like super exciting or the opposite of it, like your body will tell you that, like you will feel it very much so.
Right.
Or if you're like something unpleasant is like unfolding, or like some kind of foreign energy is like maybe intruding upon you, or something is coming in that is not of the highest good, maybe, and your body is going to tell you that, like you're going to feel like maybe like shivers or cold or something coming over your body, or some kind of very unpleasant smell is also something that I've experienced too. Like in my cases, what I would say, I get like a similar sensations when cats get very agitated, you know, like when their hair stands up on their back, and like I kind of feel that way. Like it happened very rare, but it's kind of freaky when all of a sudden you think that everything's in in order, and all of a sudden your body is like sounding alarm, like, oh no, like red alert.
Right.
something is coming.
And just feeling gross in your stomach lots of times too, just like there's something wrong with the energy of it. The other part of the understanding it's true is often for me, I'll feel some type of familiarity. Like it's like, oh wait, I kind of know this. How do I know this? You know, and I'll lean into it that way. And often what occurs for me is that though perhaps the narrative of the information that's being presented is like, and then the world is going to end, you know, like whatever it is that they want to talk about, it has nothing to do with my experiences. Is like, oh wait, that I know that part, that thing, and I'll go away. Like I could watch the remainder of the video, or I'll be sitting before the remainder of the video and not realize it, because I'm now remembering there's past life experiences or Akashic connections, whatever it is that's happening, and I'm being activated and reminded by the truth, you know. And so allowing yourself to follow that path used to be called daydreaming, and it's so funny to find out that
You're like filtering out the unnecessary information, like putting it aside.
yeah
Yeah, like regarding the sensing stuff, it just came into my mind that like throughout our journey we have many different experiences. Like you have fun moments when you experience very high vibrational energies, and you also have experiences when you can have these dark stuff come into a field in your life, to experience that as well. And they can like return, go away, return as you work on yourself. And like many people can tend to believe that, hey, like I'm doing something wrong, like why are these negative events like coming into my life, why am I experiencing them? But I'm also getting the good stuff too. And basically you're getting all this wealth of experiences, so you can like build up a type of vocabulary of like,
Right.
okay, like this type of stuff feels like this. Like when I'm near something or someone that is not of the highest light, feels like this. And you kind of get to know how everything feels and functions and how you react to different energies. So later on, when actually something happens, then okay, like this is happening and this is what I have to do in these situations. Like that is why things keep reoccurring and you get a bit of both. So basically you can learn how is it like to be in both places, basically.
Right. Yeah. And allowing yourself to just I do need to go in a moment. I know you do as well. The knowing what your own energy feels like, that's another. I knew that I did it, but I didn't realize I had done it until Guardian had mentioned it a while back.
Mm-hmm.
Going into nature, away from or as far away from populated places as possible, and spending time there. You come to find, I came to find, and many do, that we're actually, our energy is very peaceful and balanced and loving and easy. And we don't even realize that a lot of the time what we interpreted as our own energy is perhaps people who live with us or live near to us that we energetically exchange with and take on as the empath that we are. And so knowing the difference between your energy and someone else's is very helpful too.
Yeah, like it's the first step in like moving forward in a conscious way in this whole awakening journey.
Yeah.
Like if you had your awakening and you're learning about yourself, how things work, then I bet you had received quite a few activations of like supercharging your senses too. And you're like bombarded with all this information and energies coming into your field. And we're like energy sponges. If we don't filter out the things that we don't want to have in our field, then we're going to get the nasty stuff too. Like this can be something from like maybe a coworker or someone next to you is having a bad day. Maybe they're going through a divorce. Maybe they're even physically sick or having some kind of physical condition. Like you can attract that stuff too into your own body.
Right.
Like it can happen on many different levels. And this is why it's so important to, as higher vibration said, that you like discern like what is your energy and like what is other people's energy. And of course to ground and also, yeah, like exercise, shielding, and how do you call that? Protection or like what would be a great keyword for it so people can search it up on YouTube?
Energetic shielding is usually
Oh
what
yeah.
comes up. It's the energetic shielding format tends to be a little bit of like bad guy versus good guy resonance. And so my 2 cents is what I do is I go into it with more of a love, and it feels like it balances it more instead of being like stay away. It's lovingly you can stay on your side of the fence. I don't know how to explain it. But yeah, energetic shielding, and there's a variety of methods and tools. However, knowing that there's a spark of light in your heart center, that is your soul fragment, and that is directly teleported, I guess, in a way, from God. The connection that comes from God is instantaneous, and it's there. It's always there, and you can grow that. And when you grow that love, because the light is love, it if something is not of love, it cannot stand before the light. The shadow cannot stand before the light. And so if it's not of love, it, when presented with love, it flees. It just does. It can't help itself. And I've been having these experiences lately more and more that physically, a physical person, when I give them love, when I send love to them, maybe they're in an angry, whatever, doing their own thing place, anger is fear. And I'll send love that way. There's this black shadow mass that will try to like bolt, that will try to leave their throat. It's the weirdest thing. It's either on this side or this side. And it's been happening a lot. And then you'll see a reaction from the individual of like, ugh, and then they just take off. And
Yeah, they
more
have to
times
leave. Yeah.
they can't stick around. And more times than not, we'll see them come back. And they'll know that something happened, that they were cleared, that we were assisting them, by assisting the removal of that parasitic energy from them. And so it's really cool. And if the energy is of the light and of the love, you'll be sent back the same amount of love that you gave them times 10 at least. It's amazing the kind of gratitude, love that you get back. So sorry, I rambled so long.
Yeah, no, it's very important, especially like there are many, I wouldn't say like implants, but like influences that are there to like to hinder us from our growth. It's like interesting that you said that like something was like coming out of the person's throat.
Yeah.
And I think like many of us have been experiencing and talking about like past few years of like having difficulty with our throat chakra, of like speaking your truth. And like obviously there was a huge movement for like not allowing people to speak their minds and their truths in the past few years. And I think that was also like an energetic thing, and we lost higher vibrations. And I think like they also enforce that on an energetic level as well, like with rituals and whatever. Like I'm not going to go into that. And like many of us have been experiencing it in the collective, but now luckily it's like going away. But I think like many people are still like holding on to that type of energy, because you would say like the average person is like not really in tune with their selves, like they're not as self-aware. So they just go about their day and like carrying all those attachments and unpleasant stuff in their fields. And yeah, like just as high vibration said, like we can assist them to a certain extent of like getting rid of it, because we also have learned within ourselves, like in our experience, like how to get rid of it. First off, to recognize it and to know what it is, and to basically say no to it because it's something that you do not prefer to have in your own reality. Okay, I'm not sure if we're going to get high vibrations back on the stream, but in closing, we're not going to go during this live event into energetic shielding and like how to maneuver with your own energy. But to anyone who is like not familiar with setting intents of like what types of energy you want to let into your life and what you don't prefer, I highly recommend like doing some research, maybe on YouTube or whatever you prefer, on energetic shielding and how it works. Maybe rituals, practices, or prayer, like whatever you prefer. Search for a few, like see which one resonates and try them out. There is like no right or wrong way of doing it. And after a time, you will gravitate towards some, and like others will not seem as exciting to you. And basically, you can also develop your own way of doing energetic shielding. You will find like what works for you, and just keep on doing that. Basically, like everyone has to develop, don't have to develop, but I think further down the line, like everyone finds out what works for them, and they develop their own practice of how to do energy work on themselves, because we're very creative creator beings. We are here to create, basically to find new ways of doing things that are applicable in this culture and this reality that we were born in. Because like we have already done all these stuff in other realities, in other lifetimes. And now we are here to bring that wealth of information into this lifetime and basically find a way to make it work in our current lifetime. Because it's like one thing to have all this information on a higher level and bring it in, but we still have to find ways to make it work and to make it practical in a day-to-day, everyday life situation. And I think, in my opinion, like that's our challenge in this period. And that's the assistance that we're providing to the human race. So I'm grateful for everyone who has joined us for this live event. You can check out High Vibrations Zoom meetings through the link in the title of this video. And please do look forward for next week's live event. I'm not sure if it's going to be something similar to this, or we're going to have a Zoom meeting, but look forward to it in the community section of my YouTube channel. So lots of love to everyone who has joined us. I'm sending you much appreciation. And if you're celebrating Easter, then happy Easter. It's 11/11 here. And yeah, hope to see you next week. Have a wonderful weekend, and